Right now, the thing that's starting to win in life is nature and the vibration. Because everything that has been done by control is falling apart. Everything that is manipulative is falling apart. Everything that is an old world. Money is going to fall apart. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see money collapse. You're going to see control collapse. You're going to see the stock market collapse. You're going to see the ways that we did things and only know things and have been trained in our entire body that you're supposed to do things are going to collapse. And you have to release your attachment to the old training. Like when I was in the early 80s, my mom was amazing at teaching me how to buy real estate, right? And she taught me, like, you know, my mom would buy houses and then rent them out, and she would teach me how to do that. I learned financing, I learned mortgages, I learned all this stuff when I was like 5. Right? She would play Monopoly with me and teach me it. She would be like, and then you buy here, and because you're staying at Baltic Avenue, which I own, you owe me $2. And I give her, and she'd go, thank you for your business, sir. And like, I learned money. I learned how to buy properties. I learned so many things. And the things that she taught me were so good for the 80s, right? They were so good for that time. And then I learned all this amazing stuff from my mom, and I learned how to buy real estate, and I learned how to invest. And then in 2007, I bought a place. 2007, I bought a place for $500,000. I was so excited. And then in 2008, it went down to $100,000. So her advice was great for the 80s. Right? And then I was in an upside down mortgage for like 5 years, and then finally it went back up. But had I stayed renting in 2007, then in 2008, I could have bought it for 100,000. You get what I'm saying? And we are trained with this programming, and almost everything you learned was for that time. And most people didn't train you in your childhood for the rising consciousness of 2020 and 2021. Most people did not train you that. So the patterns that are in your body were great advice for that time. They also probably taught you how to hang up a rotary phone. But now you don't use a rotary phone. They probably said, when you get an 8-track, make sure or you get a cassette, make sure you put the pen in and wind the cassette tape this way. And the advice is great for that time. And you have to know that you're full of programs for other times. And that's what's trying to fall out of you. And the program isn't just how to live, but it's also, you want to get love from your parents back then. It's also, you want to just totally deny that you were abandoned in the 70s, right? It's these different things that are programs, and almost every decision we make is to not have to own that these things happened and to honor the old programming. And I work with people and I hear them be like, well, I have to buy a house. I'm like, you sure you have to right now? I'm not saying anything specific about the market, but there's a part of me that goes, wait a minute, if almost everyone's got unemployment going on, rent is defaulted on 33% of the houses in America right now, and many businesses are going out of business. Are you sure right now is for sure the best time? I don't know. But right now it feels slightly inflated. And so the advice of your childhood might not fit now. You might look at this time and go, actually, it could be in something different. It could be in vibration. Actually, the best thing to invest in is vibration. Start to learn how to connect to the now, because that's something that is timeless, but that's something that's actually happening. And the highest asset you have is vibration. So let's say you're in 2021 and you have a you that could keep ascending out of even the money world. There's a you that's worth more than money is, right? But if you're grabbing onto the smaller thing for money, right, you're saying, screw the vibration, money is more important. But what if the dollar collapses? You can't collapse vibration, right? You can't collapse consciousness. You can't collapse the now. You can't collapse that. There's no one that can collapse these things. You're grabbing onto something that is a physical thing that can totally collapse. And it's due to it's being printed more and more and more. And here you are, you can grab a vibration and then imagine the value in you if you spend the next 6 months working on the highest vibration of you. And then let's say the dollar collapses. Let's say it costs $200 to get a bag of bread or some shit. And you're instead one of the most valuable people on the planet, because as everyone's falling apart because they're associated to that shit, there's you connected to the truth, helping them understand how to let go of these patterns, right? This is what's worth money. This is what will be worth everything, right? The most valuable thing on the planet is you connected to source. And as these other things that we thought were get more and more flimsy, they're going to collapse. So one of the things that has to happen is you have to follow your highest, not the what you should do according to other people. You have inside of you a highest, and that highest makes probably no sense to most people, because the highest that you have is your way to move along with nature. It's your way to move on the highest version of yourself, and society might not suggest it. Like, for instance, if you have a bunch of money right now, getting a small, tiny house might not sound like something you should do, right? And then just slowly feeding off that money or doing something else, but you might not understand there's a highest in you. And the longer you meditate or the more you follow your heart, the more whatever, you start to learn that there's just so many ways that are your way that no one would understand. But if you're stuck to other people, if you're stuck to your addiction to other people, you will ignore what you should do in your heart, and you will do what you think you should do according to your dad, or to prove to your mom that you're enough, or whatever. This is sacrificing your vibration. This is you grabbing onto the old paradigm of your parents' ego versus letting yourself actually tangibly connect to source, right? This is an actual thing where you are God's child. You are the universe's child. We move as if we're our parents' child. You came from your parents, and that's awesome, but you have to move now in alignment with nature. There are nature laws and there are ego laws. Ego laws control, nature frees. Do you see a tree trying to control another tree? Nature laws thrive no matter what anyone else is doing. You could cut a tree down and the tree next to it doesn't stop giving its gift, right? It gives its gift more because we need it. It gives its gift fully, right? There's no punishment according to nature. It's just constantly growing and rising. You don't teach through shame and punishment. You just support the highest version of each other. There's a thriving, there's no waste in nature. It just continually uses itself, and it has an infinite supply. Nature has infinite, you have infinite content that's worth billions of dollars. You don't have to stop all of you so that you can hand the god of money your soul, right? You don't need to just constantly be in a survival state. Right now, it is exponentially rising. People's awareness is skyrocketing right now because everywhere you look, things aren't quite how you thought for sure they were. You looking at authority, and authority could be CNN, authority could be whatever. Oh, wait, maybe the outside was full of shit. Oh, maybe education had a manipulative agenda and was actually partly controlling me. Maybe this thing over here, maybe Congress actually doesn't give a shit. Maybe these things, and you stop. This is a good moment. This is depressing on one level, but it's also magic because you start to release your power to everything else. You release them from having it. And you start to actually move based on a guidance system that you actually have in your body. And you start to move based on your heart. And the better you do that, the more it shows up and the louder it is and the more you can tell it knows what it's talking about. And now you're at a collective frequency where your awareness is through the roof. And let me tell you something, this time we hear all the time, survival of the fittest. It's survival of the awariest. The aware are going to be the freest now. You have to listen to God. You have to. This is survival of the awariest. And if you are staying in shit that doesn't align with you, you're missing out on the major currency of awareness. And you start to learn how to hear, and you start to learn how to follow your heart, and you start to learn that there's freedom here, and you start to think not based on research on Google, but intuition. You can intuit if something is trying to manipulate you. You can intuit someone's heart, and you stop doing things based on what you read in a freaking article or what the mainstream media said or anything else. You stop listening to that, and you know for a fact based on feeling, and you get better and better at following that feeling. That feeling will protect you. It'll protect you from bad food. It'll protect you from manipulative agendas. You will be at a frequency where they actually can't control you. No one can control you. Now, if you get that frequency going, you become instant permission for the rest of the world, even if they don't see you. You start to become a frequency that's based on intuition, guidance, God, and magic. And people that control you, whether it's in your personal life or giant overall agendas, can't reach your frequency because control is at a lower frequency. You would only need to control people if you don't like yourself and you're living at a lower frequency. As you move to a higher frequency, you become untouchable to the people that talk shit about you, the people that want to control you, the people that want to whatever. You start to understand what's happening, and you're not even scared of it. And the more you're in your power, the more they will run from you. And as you move into your power, the people around you start to move into their power. And as they move into their power and you move into their power, it just ripples everywhere. And I swear to God, the frequency moves. There have been scientific studies like the 100th monkey experiment that they found that when one monkey started washing a sweet potato or something, and then they taught it how to do it. And then this monkey washed the sweet potato. I don't know if you know about this. And then it showed the other ones how to do this. And there's these monkeys on an island that all learned how to wash a sweet potato. Well, eventually it hits some frequency tipping point where on another island where a bunch of other monkeys were, they all were washing the sweet potatoes too. So once something happened, eventually the collective consciousness was so high that the frequency, which in our five senses it's invisible, brought it to a normality for all the monkeys to understand how to do this. This is a critical mass tipping point. That's exactly right. So as we start to free ourselves from the old frequency, and we were at a frequency where we were able to be controlled, you didn't have to think twice when the news told you something in the 80s. It was just a fact. Lee Harvey Oswald did it, the end. It was not anything. There's 2 TV channels and no one even questioned anything. It was like in the 40s, like all of America goes to war, and everyone's fine with it. Everyone's fine with war. And just everyone's fine with it. No one's thinking, this is crazy, we're all at war. That frequency can't happen anymore. We're too aware, we're too open. And even if you see chaos right now, I'm telling you that frequency can't happen. Right? Part of the chaos that you're seeing is everyone releasing the control in their body. You might see this as a chaotic time, but it's a freeing time. People are going nuts right now because everything they believed is falling apart, right? Everything they thought they were is falling apart. And if you're feeling a lot of pain, that's because what you thought you were is trying to fall off. And sometimes you'll really think that's your identity, or you'll think that thing that's falling off of me is how I got love when I was a kid, or how I avoid being abandoned when I was a kid, or how I avoid being beaten. So I'm scared because if this falls off, maybe I'll be beaten again. That's how the body sees it. So it's scared for this thing to fall off, but then it falls off for a minute. Then you cry, then you say goodbye to your old story and the pattern that says who you are is your childhood, and who you are is what your parents say, and who you are is what you you had to do to survive from your, crazy story of your childhood. No, that's done. That survival thing falls off. And Catherine says, when that thing falls off, what is replaced? Guidance, magic, intuition, programming that's in your body that runs how the outside world goes. Those things are covered up by those patterns, right? And as they keep falling, every time you shed a tear, every time you follow your heart, every time you move to a higher thing, every time you say no to something that keeps dragging you down, those patterns that would keep those things in your life fall off more. Then you start to get guided intuition, and you don't even have to check with anyone out of that guided intuition, right? You won't go, what do you think I should do? You'll just have guided intuition, and you're already in a frequency where worthiness is a part of you, and you just follow it, right? And sometimes the guided intuition is just lie down. Sometimes it's drink water. Sometimes it's whatever, right? But the collective starts to join on the normality of that frequency. So imagine that there's a collective frequency that just exists on the planet, and then there's a collective frequency that humanity's catching up to, right? And imagine that, think of it like, imagine if there were 8 billion basketballs that have been held underwater, right? And something's holding them underwater. And imagine one, in the Gandhi times, one basketball comes up, and then some basketballs follow it and come up and are a little inspired by it. But imagine now that you can't keep them underwater. There's 8 billion of them. And imagine now 4 billion are up, right? And imagine that because 4 billion are up, the ones that are remaining feel heavier and harder to control because they're looking up at those ones and going, wait, those ones are free. That now I'm thinking twice about it. And this is painful though, because I've lived as a basketball underwater. I'm dying to stay underwater, but only the ones that are underwater are controllable now. And then the more you're looking at the top ones that aren't controlled and they're just living freely, and they're the ones not screaming and going crazy, but just getting more and more present in here, right? Then the basketballs underwater feel this permission to get free, and you can only control what's way underwater, not what's at the top. They all see through it. And then you have the people that are trying to control also changing their mind because the people at the top feel freer. And you start to go, I want that. What am I doing? And this is where all the whistleblowers show up, and people start to change their minds about what they were doing or have a conscious shift. And a conscious shift is more and more normalized in our world now. It's more normal to just realize, what the hell am I doing with my life? It's heavier, right? It's hard for me to control people. It's hard for me to manipulate. It's hard. Why am I doing this? Why? What do I want? Just more control? No. You want more freedom. So never mind, I'm gonna let go of this. And then you'll just watch as the people, even that are doing the controlling, start to change their mind. And eventually there's 6 old guys trying to run the whole damn thing. And they're suddenly surrounded by 8 billion basketballs that are changing their mind. And they're like, shit, right? This is what's happening. And the collective consciousness is coming up so fast. So imagine that June and July are just as more truths show up, as more revelations show up, as more truths inside and outside show up. That's what's happening right now, right? Life is freeing you. And this is why you freeing yourself is a faster way to free the people around you than you staying underwater with the people that won't free themselves, right? One of the highest addictions that conscious people have is trying to get everyone around them to shift. You'd rather just go to the top, right? Just do your thing. Don't try to shift anyone unless they're completely asking you for it. And when you do, stay in your butterfly and not your caterpillar with them. There's a lot of people I won't shift until they do. I need to get my mom to see this. I need to get my husband to see this. No, just go up. Just let go of what they're doing. Get your basketball to the top of the water, right? Get it up there. Just wait. I promise you're part of a giant frequency that's coming. And when you allow your basketball to truly live at the top, where you're just starting to be more and more in the now, let yourself be with the feelings, right? Let yourself just be here. Let yourself be here. Let yourself follow it. Let yourself trust. Then you exponentially move faster and faster and faster to the top. And you will discover that the world is mirroring you. It's actually mirroring you. So instead of waiting for the collective to go up, just you go up. Just follow into the now. Follow your heart. Let go of needing to even needing to resolve things, because at this frequency, God's resolving it, right? You don't even just like sending love. If it's resolvable, really instantly, cool. If not, like, trust me, we're all in our inner work. Just let us be confused for a minute and meditate and just be there and work on you. Please just work on you, right? Like, I think I said please because Lawrence said please. So what our job is to just listen to source and go up. And eventually you have a world of non-controllable people. And then the people that are involved in any of that will want to let go, will have to let go, right? Isn't this exciting? This is what's happening. And you're going to see that in the next couple months, it's going to move so fast, and transparency is starting to show up so quick. You know, we see through it. We're seeing through authority. We're seeing through it. Did you know that the Oscars used to get 40 million viewers and this year it had 9 million? That's because people are learning we're all the same, and we're stopping worshiping celebrities. We're stopping worshiping someone as higher than us, right? Did you know CNN's ratings have gone down 77% since January? Why would that be? You'd think we'd all be home right now, right? But it's not. We're home. You'd think we'd watch more CNN, but it's whatever it is, it's because people are getting more and more guided, and the information is showing up here versus here, right? Overall, more and more, we are unconsciously undoing ourselves from authority, even authority of your boyfriend or girlfriend, even the authority of what do you think to your best friends, even the authority of, you know, you're starting to get in your heart, and less you have to release the idea that a way will tell you what to go. You know, there's nothing you could Google on what to do that there isn't an other argument for the opposite side. Like, you can look up fasting, and then there's like why you should and why you shouldn't. And you can look up coffee and why it's actually good for you and why it's terrible for you. And you could look up, should I drink one wine a day? Oh, it's really good for your heart. Actually, it's terrible for you. Should you work out every day or every other day? Oh, this way, this way. There's no article that there isn't a counter article to. And the reason for that is always work. You have to follow your heart, right? You have to follow your heart. There is no way you can fully be one thing. Always have a point, whether you're an independent, a Democrat, a Republican. There's a point that everyone has in every argument, and there's a reason they have that. The more you move to this God frequency, the more you understand all sides, the more you really understand the whole thing and don't just be a side. And the reason that one side gets louder is because it understands that it might not be the only truth. And so it starts to lose this grab on an identity that says, I'm this argument. So the more that slips out of you, the more you have no concept of what you are. So the more you're trying to grab it, and you get louder and louder and louder. And the louder someone is, right? I say screaming. The louder someone is about a thing where they're screaming at other people how to live, what to do, whatever. The more they do that, if they're doing it from anger, the more they're doing that, the more they have a part of them that knows this might not be the only truth. And I don't know who I am without that thing, right? And if we could just admit, I don't know who I am without that job, house, relationship, career, identity, political affiliation, religion. I don't know what I am without that. Just start there. If I lose that pattern, I don't know what I am. Great. You don't need to. Maybe it'll show you. Maybe you'll learn what you are and not have an identity that just says, I'm this story, I'm my childhood pattern, I'm whatever else. You're all that is, and you're going to feel and experience kind of this amazing label-less version of you that's really actually connected to the all that isness. And the more you don't have everything you can identify as you is separation, right? Everything you say, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, or I'm an independent, or I'm this age, or I make this money. These are separation thoughts, right? These are separation, right? I'm this, so you're this. I'm this gender, so you're this. I'm this ethnicity, so you're this. I'm this, so you're this. This is separation, right? Isn't that amazing? Like, allow yourself to release your labels. I'm now. And now I'm now.
Nothing is as true